Afternoon, depending on where you're watching us, everyone. We've got people coming from all over the world, which is great, to learn about buying properties in Cyprus, beautiful Cyprus. So I'm Emily Despois. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Fine & Country, and I'm your host for tonight. Just to let you know, you should have access to a chat. So whilst I'm asking questions and we're getting answers, if you have any further questions that you would like to ask throughout the webinar, you can ask those questions during the chats. We have received quite a lot of questions. I will try to go through as many as possible. If we cannot go through some of the questions that you've asked, I do apologize, and someone from the panel will come back to you and answer your question separately. Without further ado, let's go and meet the panel of experts that we have today. And let's start with Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie. Good evening, and thank you all for joining us. I work for Fine & Country Cyprus, sales agent, branch manager here in Proteras. We cover all of the south of the island, and we've been going for, we've got 20 years experience between us.
Yeah.
This is my colleague Linda.
So I'm Linda, I'm the branch manager of the Larnaca office. Again, around over 20 years now experience in Cyprus in the real estate market. So I think even though we're not Cypriots, we are very knowledgeable of the area, and we've seen a lot in real estate over these 24 years.
Oh, many changes.
And you guys not being Cypriots, you're expats, so I think you're really well placed to actually advise people who are listening tonight.
Yeah.
It's okay, we'll hear a bit more about your journey later on and delve into this a bit more. Thank you both. Konstantinos, over to you.
Hello everyone, my name is Konstantinos Vasiliou. Very nice to have you here. I represent George Vasiliou LLC, a law firm here in Larnaca, a very well-established law firm for 30 years now here in Cyprus. I am a partner at the law firm. My specialization is real estate transactions and migration law, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Fantastic, thank you, Konstantinos. Nick, over to you.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Nick Cairns. I'm the partner for Blevins Franks Wealth Management. We specialise in cross-border tax advice and helping people relocate to one of the core countries that we cover. We've been specialising in this area for 50 years as a company. Just celebrated our 50th year. We've had an office in Cyprus for 21 years. And I've been in the Paphos region working for Blevins Franks for the last 14 years myself. So made the move with my family as well 14 years ago. And yeah, adapted to a nice life in a very lovely country.
Fantastic. We'll ask you a few questions as well if you moved with the family as well, in terms of moving with children and things like this. Thank you, Nick. And then Matt, over to you.
Yep, thank you everyone for joining us. So I'm Matthew McClure. I'm one of the senior traders here at Lumon Pay. We're a currency exchange brokerage based out of Farringdon in London, and we've been in business for 25 years, helping clients move large volume transfers internationally for property purchases, property sales, international investments, and plenty of other reasons. Been part of the dealing team for 5 years now. I've been through, well, I was here at the end of the COVID period, so I was here at the end of one Trump campaign and beginning of another, as well as the Liz Truss debacle and the current Labour Party debacle. So a lot of experience in volatile markets. But yeah, at Lumon we aim to undercut a bank's exchange rate with our own competitive rates, as well as offer an expert service to assist our clients in timing their currency requirements and ultimately help them save money.
Fantastic. You did save a lot of money to a lot of our customers. So yes, great service there. Thank you all. I will start tonight. Sometimes I change the order. Let's start tonight with Debbie and Linda, if I may. First thing is, not a question that came, but probably a question that will come later on if people are looking to Cyprus. Could you actually explain the whole island of Cyprus and the north and south divide, and if you cover both or if you just cover the south?
Okay. Yeah, only the south. We're only allowed to have the real estate in the south of the island, but we do cover the whole of the south. We've got offices in Proteras, we've got offices in Larnaca, where Linda is, and also in Paphos. And Andrea there, she covers Limassol as well. So, and we've actually branched into going in further into Nicosia as well. We've not done that much in the past because it's been the main tourist areas as well as all the villages surrounding. But no, we're going into Nicosia as well now. That seems to be, it takes time, but it's, yeah, because so we cover the whole of the south.
Regarding your question was about the north, no, it's a political issue since 1974. So the south of Cyprus is European.
Is European. I think it's important for people watching tonight to understand the north and south, and just it's quite important that today we're covering the south. So everything that is to do with taxation and with the law and everything will be to do with the south and not.
In the south, as Konstantinos will tell you as well, the contracts are written in English. The title deeds will talk about that as well, situation. It is safe to buy in the south. I don't want to go too much into what's happening in the north because it's political.
One thing I would just mention on that, which we do get a lot of people get very confused over, is the Famagusta district. And they do quite often believe that Famagusta is only northern Cyprus, but it's not.
It's free Famagusta,
yes.
which is this side.
So it's something that we get a question for quite a lot.
Yeah, that can be a bit confusing, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. So I want to move to Cyprus. Where do I start?
That's a good question. So that really depends on the investor, what they're looking for. You know, are they dreaming of waking up and swimming in crystal clear waters with the turtles? Then you've got to come to Debbie, to the Proteras, not to Debbie, but to the Proteras, Ayanaka areas, because the crystal clear waters are amazing and we have beautiful turtles to swim with. Maybe you want a vibrant city life with still the sea, that's something that's open all year round, and it's still got a lot of growth going on, then Larnaca definitely. If you want something that's really crazy busy and I would say the business hub of the country, then you've got to check out Limassol. If you want something a bit quieter with beautiful countryside, amazing views, I guess, Nick, you'd agree with me, Paphos has a lot to offer over there. Or maybe you want to close to universities in Nicosia. We can cover, honestly, we're a small country, but I feel that we're so diverse that whatever you tell us your dream is, I feel that we can definitely help with that. I think we're one of the few countries in the world where this time of the year in the winter, you can actually sunbathe on the beach, but you can go skiing in the mountains on the same day.
Yep.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. No, you can.
Yeah.
Really good. And so let's say I found the property that I want to buy. What's the process?
Okay, so you found the property. Obviously you've got your agent that you're dealing with, because obviously a very important thing is to have trust in your agent. You need that. You need the trust of the agent, obviously the experience of them as well to help you through with it. But once, if we go to, you found the property, it's then our job to negotiate on your behalf once you've made an offer. Once the offer is accepted, a deposit is placed to remove that property from the market, and then you're introduced to your lawyer. Obviously, you can find the lawyer yourself. And another question, I don't know, Konstantinos might help with this one as well. We get asked a lot, or people will tell potential buyers, do not go with a lawyer that your agent tells you. Now, we've seen in all these 20 odd years we've been doing the job, that don't always work. You know, if with a real estate agent, we actually work with the lawyers, but the lawyers are independent for the client. They're not working with us, but we know, we see good lawyers, you know, lawyers that are very thorough, they do the job, and other clients have recommended them. So we know who to work with. So it's a difference to, you're not being pushed to a lawyer, but if you ask,
We'll help.
we will help and advise.
Yeah.
But that's how it works. And then the lawyer takes over from there, does all their searches, due diligence, does all of that, and then the process goes through. But we are there from the start to the finish. We don't leave you once the deposit is paid. Yeah, and after, because then there's all the, where do you go for this? What do you do with that? And
where's your hairdresser, dentist, gynecologist, all of these things pop up, and we will help.
Fantastic. So you're talking about a deposit, which obviously in the UK is not something that we have. What is the amount of the deposit?
Usually the deposit is €5,000. Okay, but that's part of the purchase price. That is part of it. It's not in addition. Most developers are now asking for €10,000.
Okay, so whether residential or new development, you have to pay a deposit, 5% for residential and then 10%.
Actually, what we clarify really is that we call it the reservation fee.
Yeah.
The reservation fee is to reserve the property, take it off the market. Then once Constantinos or your lawyer, whatever, does the contract of sale, you probably then be asked to call what we call a deposit then, which might be even more money. But again, all of these are taken off the price of the property.
The full price. And do you risk losing those amounts if you don't go through with the sale, with the purchase?
If I may,
yeah, please do.
Yes. So what I will say at this point is that it depends on the reservation agreement that will be drafted by your lawyer, okay? For instance, there are clients who wish to try to obtain a loan, okay? And there is a client who says, listen, I'm going to try for a loan. I'm not sure if I can or be able to finance the acquisition of this property. And I would like that in case my loan is rejected, then my reservation deposit is withdrawn. But the purpose in general of the reservation deposit is that if, let's say, everything is okay with the due diligence, which is my job to undertake, okay, with the legal due diligence, if everything is okay, a client obligates himself to proceed with the acquisition of the property. And the reservation deposit is holding the property out of the market for a certain period of time that is specified within the reservation agreement. Okay, we'll say that for you pay €5,000 for 30 days. If everything is okay, if let's say the due diligence is successful, there is nothing else which prohibits me from going forward with the transaction, then the client should go forward. If he doesn't wish so to proceed just because he has changed his mind, then there is a risk that yes, then he may be losing his deposit. Okay, because the developer or the seller, it doesn't always need to be a new development, will say, listen, I have sold this property, I may have lost other buyers, and because of that, so I wish to retain the deposit. But all of that is fluent. You may stipulate how much of the deposit you will be losing. Everything is part of a contractual negotiation that will be agreed between the parties. Nothing is rigid, nothing is solid.
Fantastic, thank you for that. And so for the whole process of buying a property, how long does it normally take?
Well, there's no set timing, and we're laughing about this because things have changed over the 24 years of doing the job. At this moment in time, around 3 to 6 months. there's a certain process which, again, Constantinos can jump in and tell us as well, is when we get to buying a property, there are procedures to take, government procedures like the tax clearance, that in my area of Larnaca is taken around 10 weeks. This area...
No, it's slightly less now. It's around 6 weeks. So,
or maybe there's a bank holiday, we've got Christmas coming up. Certain things can happen depending on the buyer. We'd say between 3 to 6 months is the usual case, we hope.
Okay, wonderful. And maybe I'll come back to you, Debbie and Linda, and then let's go to Konstantinos because we have a few questions for you as well. Maybe if you could explain to us first the process on your side of buying a property, and then we have quite specific questions as well, which I will ask afterwards once you've taken us through the legal process of buying a property.
Sure. So let me just clarify that most acquisition of Cyprus it's a freehold, okay? It's not a leasehold like the UK, okay? So there is the acquisition of a new developed property, residential property, and there is properties which already have a title deed, okay? The difference between the acquisition of the path towards the acquisition of those two properties is different, okay? The acquisition of a new developed property is, let's say, easier because the only thing that needs to be done is the execution of a sale purchase agreement and the deposition of it in the land registry. Whereas if you are buying something which already has a title deed, it's a different process. You need to go through, as Debbie said, through a tax clearance, through a tax registration system, where you need to go then at the land registry and have the title deed be transferred upon your name. In Cyprus, we have a land registry where everything is crystal clear, and you can have a land registry search where it will show the exact encumbrances, the exact issues, and the files that each property may have open or may not have at all.
Okay, and it's a question actually that came from another webinar, but I think people would be interested, which is the cost, actually, the additional cost of buying a property in Cyprus. So obviously there is the cost of the property itself. What are the additional costs next to that cost?
Okay, so if you're buying a new property has an additional VAT of 19%, which you can claim up to 5% if this is your first acquisition in Cyprus, and if you do not wish to use it as a property for yourself. If you wish to use it for an investment purpose, then you need to pay 19%. Okay, so if it's a new developed property, you have the additional cost of VAT. Okay, generally speaking, we have the stamp duties, which I would say that they are relatively low. Okay, they are not like the UK, and also the additional cost if you are buying an old property, which means a property that already has a title deed, is the transfer fees, which can go up to 4% on the estimated value of the property.
Okay, and do you do surveys as well, like we do in the UK? Do you survey properties?
Not in general.
Oh, sorry, like in general, maybe for Debbie and Linda, do a surveyor go to the property?
It's not the same as the UK, so you can have a surveyor, and we can put you in touch with a surveyor. Like I know in the UK, I think, do you have to do that? Because I think everybody in the UK does that. Here it's not usually, it doesn't usually happen, but if anybody requests it, then we can put you in touch with a surveyor here, and they'll give a full independent report on that property. I've just done it recently for a UK client. Yeah,
fantastic, thank you. So Konstantinos, a few other questions, if you know the answer to those. If I am a Cypriot but I do not live in Cyprus and I have never lived in Cyprus, am I entitled to the non-dom status?
I think Nick is more suited for this question.
Nick, do you know the answer to this?
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Potentially, yes, you can qualify for non-dom status. It's down to parentage as well, and the domicile of your parents, and whether your parents have been resident in Cyprus as well. So it's not a straightforward answer. It depends on the parentage as well. I mean, say for example, if I've had a client in the last week or so is of Cypriot heritage. Both parents are Cypriot, but they've lived in the UK. The parents moved to the UK 35 years ago, and the son has lived in the UK all his life. So he would qualify for the non-dom status. But yeah, we would need to look at individual circumstances to give a definitive answer. But yes, you can potentially qualify for non-dom.
Okay. Well, actually, Nick, I'll come over to you, and then as you do, if I'm asking a question to the wrong person, please jump in, or if you know an answer, just please jump in. So Nick, I want to buy a property to obtain a permanent residence via the residency investment scheme. What do I need to know?
Again, this is probably for Konstantinos.
Yes.
This is more on the legal side, yeah.
Yes. So if we are being very specific, yeah, Ms. Emil, you just said permanent residence. Okay. There are two streams which you can choose to do so, through the category F and through the category 6.2. Okay. I will definitely, the category 6.2 is much more, let's say, being used, as the category F has a slow process of moving forward. Okay, so most of the clients who wish to go forward with a permanent residence, they choose to go forward with the fast track residence, which is basically purchasing a property of 300,000 euros plus VAT, which means you need to buy a newly developed property, okay, of 300,000 euros plus VAT. And to clarify, you can buy up to 2 properties together. So you can buy 2 properties of 150 and 150, okay? And just to clarify again, this is not the only way by which you can do it. There are other methods as well. You can invest 300,000 euros in a fund. You can invest 300,000 euros in non-residential properties, okay? And you can invest also 300,000 euros in a company that has 5 employees, okay? The most used concept and method is the acquisition of properties, newly developed properties of 300,000 euros plus VAT.
Okay. So it's not just buying, you can actually, as long as you invest 300,000 euros plus VAT in the country, you can get the fast tracked to permanent residency in Cyprus.
Yes, the plus VAT, it's only for this concept. If you are investing 300,000 euros in a company, you do not need to pay VAT. Okay, but the major criteria there is that you need to invest in a company that has 5 employees.
Okay, 5 employees.
Yes.
So the next one, and between Nick and Konstantinos, you tell me which one will answer this one. I want to leave the UK for tax purposes. I would like to know more about becoming a non-dom tax resident of Cyprus.
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, non-dom tax residency. People tend to get this mixed up a little bit, because non-dom means that you are basically not a Cypriot national as such. You become domiciled in Cyprus under Cypriot law once you've spent 17 out of 20 tax years. There's 2 ways you can become tax resident in Cyprus. You can spend 183 days within the tax year, and the Cyprus tax year is calendar. It's not like the UK tax year, so it's 1st of January to the 31st of December. And you spend 183 days, that will automatically qualify for you to be tax resident, and you can avail of the non-dom scheme by going down that route. And you would be the non-dom scheme allows you to receive things like interest, dividends, and so on, without having to pay any tax on them. The other way that people tend to go down the non-dom route is by going down the 60-day tax residency rule, which is a little bit more complex because with the 60-day non-dom route, you have to make sure that you don't spend more than 180 days in any other jurisdiction. You need to make sure that you don't become tax resident in any other jurisdiction. And it's not as straightforward in places like the UK. You can spend as little as 16 days in the UK and HMRC can deem you as being tax resident there. It depends on the number of ties that you have to the country. So the other criteria with the 60-day non-dom route is that you actually have to invest, either be employed within a company, invest within a company, or be a director of a company within Cyprus. You also, within that period of the year that you're a 60-day non-dom, you also have to have a place of residence. So it's quite awkward for UK residents or third country nationals to become a 60-day non-dom by just spending 60 days there, unless they go down the fast track permanent residency route and buy a new build property. Because I think if Konstantinos will be able to confirm this, but if you go down the temporary residency route, which allows you to rent a property, you're only allowed to spend 12 weeks a year off the island. Is that correct?
That's correct. 3 months maximum.
Which, if you want to spend 60 days in Cyprus, you can't really make that work with the temporary residency route, because you've got to spend the reverse of that. You've got to spend 9 months basically on the island.
Yeah. Okay. And so going back to maybe something a bit more simple, hopefully, I'm a UK resident and I want to move to Cyprus. What steps do I need to take?
It's a bit like a domino effect. I think, first of all, people tend to decide what they're doing in terms of property. Then the immigration follows on behind that, whether or not, you know, if you're going for a resale property, you go down the category F route, what we call the slow track. Or if you're buying a new build property, you would go down the fast track residency route. After that, once let's say you've got the delivery of your property, you've got your immigration in place, you're then able to register for tax residency, and start to benefit from the much lower taxes that we have here in Cyprus than the UK and pretty much everywhere else in Europe, in fairness.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And so how long does it take normally for the visas to come through? You said there's a slow track and there's a fast track. What is slow? What is fast?
So if I may jump in, what we have been talking until now was about permanent residence. Okay, Nick also mentioned that the temporary residence, which is a 12-month residence, okay, which some people choose to do so, okay, and of course they may do so. If you wish to do a temporary residence, it's actually pretty easy. After you have collected the documents, we book an appointment with the governmental authority, and then it's actually maybe processed within a day. You can go and come back forth with only the receipt of that you have applied, and you will receive the temporary residency card within 3 months. Okay, now with the permanent residency, with the fast track, it takes 6 to 8 months in practice as of now. Okay, with the slow track, I would say it's within years. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
that's why it's not commonly used. Okay. Well, that's why most people choose to follow the fast track, where they buy a property of 300,000 euros plus VAT, and within 8 months maximum, I would say, it's they get the permanent residency card.
Okay, so I think there was a question to that effect actually, which is, if I purchase a property, do I then need to apply myself for the visa, or is someone doing it for me? What's happening?
You can choose, of course, most people appoint a lawyer to do it for them, okay? And a lawyer guides the client in respect to the documents that are needed to be gathered in order to apply. And then once the documents are collected, then the lawyer takes it upon himself to go and submit the permanent residence application.
Okay. And in terms of visa, actually, because I'm trying to build a timeline for people who would be interested, because we've already seen that purchasing a property, once you found the property that you like, and that probably can take some time, takes up to maybe 6 months, we said, to purchase that property. Do I need to wait for the completion of my property to then apply for the visa?
No, if we are talking about, if we go to a temporary residence, with the temporary residence, you need to basically show that you have somewhere to stay, okay? You can also lease a property, you can also buy a property. That's with the temporary residence, okay? Now with the permanent residence, with the fast track, you need to show that you have already invested 300,000 euros plus VAT. And if, let's say, you are buying a property of 1 million euros, okay, and the first installment is 300,000 euros plus VAT, that's fine. But if the property which you are purchasing is not yet started, okay, and of course it takes time to have a property be built, okay, the client, in order for him to be able, or her to be able to apply, they need to pay the 300,000 euros plus VAT. It's not about the property, it's about the investment.
It's about the investment. I see. And for a UK resident, obviously the UK following Brexit is no longer part of Europe. Do I need a visa to go to Cyprus?
No.
No?
No.
Visa
No.
required. Wonderful.
No. I believe the Cypriots now need a visa to go to England, though.
Talk to me about it. When my family comes from France, they're not impressed. But yeah, so let's go over to Matt, and then if I may, we'll discuss a bit about, because we've got 3 expats on the call, which is fantastic, so we can discuss about your journey and how you got to move to Cyprus. But Matt, first, let's talk money, because obviously we discussed that movement of 300,000 euros going over to Cyprus. How can people do that? What's the difference between a bank and your services?
Yeah, well, I think I said it a little bit at the start. I mean, the point here is that we're able to undercut what a bank may charge on the currency rate, to then also help with the timing of it as well. So, I mean, one of the main reasons we exist in the first place is because typically a bank doesn't offer a very competitive rate of exchange. So, you know, we exchange close to 10 billion pounds worth of currency every year, which averages out about 30-40 million pounds a day. And that allows us to buy at a much more competitive rate from our providers. I mean, we mystery shop banks to understand the average rates and fees associated with exchanging funds. And on average, for a transfer of just £50,000, you can expect a saving at about £500 to £1,000. So, yeah, when you're looking at much larger volumes of funds, you can see how the difference becomes quite apparent. But it becomes even more apparent when you start looking in the difference in currency movements, of course. So sterling euro is a great example, and I use £500,000 to kind of show the difference here on the currency rates, because I mean, sterling euro started the year at about 121.5, and it dropped as low as 112.80. So that's a difference of 7% just in the currency rate. So if you're moving £500,000, that's a difference of over 40,000 euros. So if you're looking at a 4 or 5 bed villa, then that's the difference right there, really. But like I say, we're not able to offer advice on, you know, what is going on or what's going to happen, because quite frankly, no one can ever tell you what that will be. It's just to offer you that expertise and guidance around, what may happen, so that you're making more of an informed decision on what you're doing.
Okay, and do I need a bank account in Cyprus to use your services, or a bank account in euro to use your services?
No, so essentially what you have here is what we call it a multi-currency account. So you can hold funds here and initiate payments whenever you're ready to do so. What's different, how we differentiate from other currency services or money transfer services? So we're what's called an e-money institution. So that means that you're able to hold funds with us for as long as you need, and your funds are fully protected for the entire duration. So it's a method called safeguarding, where your funds are placed into a segregated account under your name and not pooled with the rest of the company's funds. And that protects you if anything should happen to our firm, even though we've been around for 25 years. So if you are concerned about the rate and you'd like to preload the accounts, you can exchange your funds into any other major currency. We'll discuss the timing, of course, to make sure you're doing it at the right time. But yeah, there's no fees for setting up the account or holding funds here, or even just having a conversation with us. It's all there and ready to go.
Fantastic. And is there anything you think that people should know about your services and Lumon in terms of moving money around and your services?
Yeah, well, I think I like talking about the kind of, well, how things have changed over the course of the year and how global events can impact the markets. So I mean, anyone who's watched the news this year, you can see what's happened with tariffs, how that's happened with with global trade, and obviously interest rate cuts and the budget this year. So there's always a lot of speculation when it comes to these things of what may happen or what might not. And there is a saying in the currency world that the market moves on expectation just as much as fact. So you can lose or gain on currencies just on what the market may think will happen. And we have to try and predict that and navigate that. So we do that in a lot of different ways. We get forecast data from over 50 financial institutions and research teams to just give us an idea of where the rate may go. And as well as that, several different contract types. So one of the most popular ones at the moment will be a forward contract. So let's say you find a property that you like, you agree a price of 300,000 euros, but you don't pay for those euros for another 2 months. You have all that time to pay for them. You can purchase that currency right away, and then essentially what we'll do, we'll freeze the rate for you. You don't have to send all of your funds here. So if you're selling a property in the UK, or you need to draw down some investments, we can just freeze the rate for you, and then you can sort out the payment in the meantime. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that brokers do to, obviously we're here to help you save money on the exchange rate, but time in the exchange is so important when it comes to moving large amounts of money.
Well, we said before, it's the difference between a swimming pool or no swimming pool sometimes. So yeah, big difference. Thank you very much. Couple more questions that came actually for living in Cyprus in general, and one I think that came last time, which is around inheritance tax. Is there any benefits in inheritance tax living in Cyprus, becoming a Cyprus resident?
Yes, there is. Initially, there's not a real benefit. The inheritance tax changes came in play in April this year, from the 6th of April this year in the UK. Inheritance tax changes came into play, and we moved away from inheritance tax being measured by domicile to inheritance tax being measured by residency or long-term non-residency. So basically, there is no inheritance tax in Cyprus. However, you can still get caught as a UK national on inheritance tax on your worldwide assets. So basically, the new definition: if you are a long-term non-resident outside of the UK, so the definition is if you've been outside of the UK for 10 full tax years, any assets that you hold outside of the UK, so if you was to buy a Cypriot property, or you were to move your investments and your savings outside of the UK and move them offshore into another jurisdiction, after doing that and being out of the UK for 10 years or longer, those assets on your demise, on your death, would no longer be subject to UK inheritance tax. So it is quite a strong benefit now, and we've got clients that have been in Cyprus for 20 plus years and have never been able to shake off inheritance tax in the UK. However, the one move that came into place this year on the 6th of April has solved that problem for them. So yes, there is a benefit to being long-term resident outside of the UK, especially in Cyprus, because there is no inheritance tax.
Okay, so if you're planning to move indefinitely or for at least 10 years, then there is a benefit. That's great.
I mean, just another element to that as well. The definition is either 10 full years or 10 of the last 20 years. So if you actually, some people move to Cyprus and do 10, 15 years and then decide they want to move back to the UK. If they move back to the UK, their assets outside of the UK will still not be subject to inheritance tax for a further 10 years. So it's very beneficial in that way.
Yeah, so you can go back and then still not. Okay, great. And another question is about healthcare in Cyprus, and if you're entitled to healthcare as an expat, if anyone can answer this.
So again, depends on your visa permit. Okay, if you are, again, between the differentiation of a temporary and a permanent one. If let's say you are doing a permanent one, you are allowed to benefit from the ESE, our national health system, similar to NHS. Okay. However, if you are going with a temporary residence, you will need to go with an insurance. There is also another kind of permit called the work permit. Okay, so if there is anyone who is looking to invest through a Cypriot legal entity in Cyprus, okay, and if this, let's say the investment is more than 200,000 euros. However, just to clarify, the investment needs to go through the corporate vehicle incorporated in Cyprus, okay? And there is a transaction of 200,000 euros from outside Cyprus towards that entity, okay? Then, if of course the individual wishes to do so, they can register themselves as an employee of their own company, okay, with a gross salary of 2,500 euros. Okay, then can give themselves a work permit, okay, and doing so, they can benefit from ESE. They can benefit from our, let's say, NHS.
Okay, so is the health system free or similar to the NHS then?
I would say it's similar to NHS.
Yeah, there's a levy
on the NHS right now.
Yeah.
Sorry to the UK, but we, on a personal thing of living and going through the system before we had the NHS system here, we had to pay private, and we have some of the best doctors, I would say, and surgeons in Cyprus, amazing, whether it's heart issues, cancer issues, and we have some of the best. And before we used to have to pay privately for it, and then GESI came along, which is our NHS, and it's amazing, because we're still lucky enough to be having those private doctors, the private healthcare, but they're under the umbrella of GESI, so you're not panicking when you're sick that you can't afford to get better.
But
So
they are
really
really good. I mean, down to actually having the personal numbers of the doctors. I had a bit of an issue with my husband when it was COVID, and they were amazing, absolutely amazing. So you can't knock the health system here at all.
And I'm guessing
just with regards to the cost. Sorry, just with regards to the cost. If you're below, if you're a UK national and you're below UK state retirement age, and you're having your pensions, for example, taxed in Cyprus, you will pay 2.65% deduction for ESE out of your declared income. If you are above UK state pension age, you can qualify for the S1 from the UK Pension Centre, which means that you don't have to pay the 2.65%. So it's a reciprocal health agreement between the UK and Cyprus. So it's a really good system.
Really good.
And actually going into pension, if I'm a retiree and reside in Cyprus, what's the tax situation in terms of pensions?
Okay. Overseas pensions are taxed at a maximum of 5%. So you have two options. You can either use the progressive tax rates that start at 20% and use your personal allowance of 19,500 euros a year, and then 20% above that, 30, 35, or you can actually go for the overseas pension rate if your pensions are obviously derived from outside of Cyprus, and you will only pay 5% as a flat fee of up to as high as they can go. There's no limit. So you get a smaller personal allowance of, well, that becomes 5,000 from 1st of January, and anything over 5,000 euros is then subject to a flat rate of 5%. So if you're in receipt of a substantial pension, so if your pension, generally speaking, if your pensions are over 25,000 euros a year, it's better to go for the 5% rate rather than the 20,000 and then the 20%. But yeah, I think, as far as I'm aware, it's the most beneficial tax rate for overseas pensioners in Europe.
Okay, you get the sun, you get the good food, and you get good rates on your. I'm in.
Hello.
I don't know when I'm retiring, but I'm in. Thank you. And thinking back on healthcare and obviously a lot of people will probably not speak the language of the country. How is the English in Cyprus if you don't speak the language? Does everybody speak English or?
95% of the people speak English.
Yeah,
It makes us very lazy.
Yeah,
It's nice if you're going to live here to learn some of the Greek. You don't have to, but I think it's nice.
yeah, of course. And a lot of people say, obviously, what I've been here permanently now just over 20 years, and still it's what, you don't speak Greek?
But you understand it.
Yeah, I know a certain amount. You can. I think a lot of it is confidence based, to be honest.
Yeah.
With languages.
Yeah.
It's confidence based.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no.
Have a drink and then you'll be fine. You'll speak.
It actually flows better than Emily. Yeah, it does. It does.
Oh, but on another note, we have very nice wine in Cyprus.
Yeah.
Here we go. I mean, not that anyone listening would know, but we spoke about potatoes earlier. That and apparently potatoes are really good in Cyprus.
What is there for Cyprus is our potatoes.
Yes, Cyprus Reds. You should look in the supermarket when you next go.
And when you visit, you have to go to a village called Zilafal to go and see the big statue of the potato that they're very proud of.
I'm going to go on the internet and check that potato statue afterwards. I have to see it. If I go to Cyprus, I'll have to see the statue of the potato.
We're going to have to take you on a tour.
So we only have 10 minutes left. As I say, it always goes very fast, and I'm sure that there's loads of questions that we haven't answered. But as I said, we've got 3 expats on the call, which is great. So why? Let's start with what made you move to Cyprus? Why Cyprus?
We had that conversation this morning, actually.
Oh.
So Debbie, why did you move to Cyprus?
Why did I move? Going back quite a few years ago, we used to come twice a year when the kids were little for holidays. Started with holidays. As they got older, we were lucky enough to actually buy an apartment, and we had that for a couple of years. But in the first year, we were actually here 13 times in 1 year.
Wow.
Literally, I worked for John Lewis at the time, which were brilliant, and you could actually get holiday. If you worked a bank holiday, you had all this backup of holidays, and that was it. We would go on a Friday on a plane, back on Monday, crazy. And that was the answer, really. We just thought, no, we've got to live there. And we did, and never looked back. Brilliant.
Right. And so in terms of your property purchase, in terms of your property purchase, Debbie, did you rent your flat at all, or did you just buy it and didn't rent it?
No, we was there too much, Emily, so we couldn't rent it out. No, there was no time. No.
Linda, over to you.
I actually came on holiday to Paphos. I met the guy that's now my husband. So I didn't stay completely, but I went back to the UK for a bit. And back in those days, there was no mobile phones, by the way. So we had to make an effort of actually writing letters to each other, phone calls at home. And then I came over to work. I used to work in entertainment, so I was a blue coat when I worked in the UK. I did that for a few years, and then I came over to Cyprus to do the same kind of thing. And that was 30 years ago, and I'm still happily married, and I have a child, and food is great.
And food is great. I mean, yeah, we've talked about food quite a lot. That's great. And what about you, Nick?
I had an affinity with Cyprus before I came over, similarly with the holiday home. I went to a wedding in Protaras in 2003 and went for a walk to get my 10-month-old baby boy to sleep, and went missing for 6 hours, and I reserved a villa through a developer you'll know very well, Giovanni, which my wife thought I'd gone to the pub and I'd come back and I'd paid and reserved a villa. So quite impulsive. I've been in this industry for 32 years, and I had the opportunity. I was approached, and because I had the affinity with Cyprus, I was approached by Blevins Franks to come and work for them and do the same as what I was doing in the UK. And it was a case of trying to get a better work-life balance and a better place to bring up at the time an 8 and a 9-year-old. So yeah, it's it's home now after 14 years. I would say this is home. I do like to see people back in the UK, but this is a beautiful little island to live on, and it'll be my base for the rest of my life. It's a lovely place to live.
Yeah, we agree, 100%.
In terms of education, actually, because you live with an 8 and a 9-year-old, so it's quite a brave move. Education in Cyprus, if people out there are thinking about moving their young family?
I factored in that I needed to put them through private education. I felt, in my honest view, the people have gone different ways. In my honest view, there were nearly 8 and nearly 10. He was 10 the month after we moved over. I felt that they didn't speak Greek, and that I needed to put them through private education, so I factored that in. They both, if you speak to my 2 children now who are 21 and 23, they'll tell you it was the best thing we ever did for them. They've since both gone back to the UK, both graduated from university, and both got good jobs. And now I'm not having to pay for university anymore. It's even better.
That university.
Yeah, good private schools here actually in Cyprus, I think, Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, they all teach UK education. Both the kids did international GCSEs. Both of them did A levels. I mean, that was where they really benefited when they were doing their A levels, because there was 2 and 3 pupils in each subject for each A level. So they came out with very, very strong marks in their A levels because it was near enough one-on-one tuition.
Yeah.
Wow. And in terms of costs compared to the UK?
About half the price. I have a relative that has one teenager at private school in the Manchester area, and they pay more a year for one person for their son than I paid for both of mine to go through for each year. So it's about half the price, probably a touch less.
Yeah, we were talking to our boss today actually, and he was saying, because he's put his kids through private school, he thinks for primary school is around 6,000 for a year.
Euros.
Secondary euros, sorry, yeah. secondary school is around 8,000 and uni's 10,000 approximately.
Yeah, rounded about that.
Really worth it then. So it's great for pensioners, it's great if you've got young kids. I mean, it's great all around. So here we go. And if you had one piece of advice to give to anyone who wants to move, what would it be? Let's start with Debbie.
Okay, we get a lot of people, my advice would be, we get many people say, you're so lucky because that's where you live. In my opinion, anyone that if you're thinking about it, you've got to do it. Don't wait, because a lot of people say, well, wait and we'll give it these years and we'll wait till that time. Do it. If you can, do it, and that's my best advice.
I'd say book a holiday, go to Cyprus, see Debbie and Linda, and that's it. You're buying a
Yeah. I'm very happy to give you a tour around as well. No pressure of buying. It's literally, you need to find your area, what suits you. Definitely. We're more than happy to do that.
Fantastic. Linda, any advice to anyone thinking about moving?
Find a good agent, an agent that's going to listen to you, an agent that's knowledgeable of the island, an agent that's been in the industry for years, because they will then know which lawyers to use, which developers to use. There's been good, there's been bad. We will know that because that's our job for over 20 years, and that's important to us because we want to see you for a drink after the deal's been done, you know. So yeah, find a good agent.
Thank you. Konstantinos?
My advice is to be consulted by a good lawyer, okay, so that he can guide you through, or she can guide you through the whole process. Take your time in terms of choosing the location so that it can suit your needs in which area you want to live, Paphos, Limassol, Larnaca, Protaras. And actually moving to Cyprus, as far as I know from all my clients from the UK, it's a pretty nice move.
Thank you. Nick?
Plan. Make sure you plan. Plan in advance. Make sure you get good professional advice in all areas, and take recommendations of people. I'm sure all of us on here, you could get recommendations of existing clients or people that have dealt with us, and use the right professionals, get the best advice, and you won't look back.
And use a currency company.
Yeah, we won't forget Matthew.
I'm on that, Matt, over to you.
Yeah, I'll jump on with Nick, where just get planning really. I mean, make sure you know what kind of budget you're working with. Don't budget off the currency rates you see online, because you'll be surprised with how much more the fees can cost. So yeah, I would say just get planning, understand what the cost will be. The other side of it, I'd say keep your eye out, because I was just about to say my parents actually met on a flight to Larnaca, so you might meet the love of your life out there.
They may not come back, Matt. Be careful.
No.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. As I said, not all questions have been answered, but if you have any questions that have been missed, you should have the contact details of all the experts that are on this panel. So I think the main thing is plan. When I do this type of webinars, wherever you move, you have to plan, because there are some financial tax and things like this that needs to be taken into consideration. So make sure that you're talking to all the specialists and the people who know the area and will be able to best advise you depending on what you're looking for. Whether it's, I'm still swimming with the turtles, and saying hi to a potato. So here we go.
We'll take a photo when we go.
Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.